What would happen if you played Final Fantasy VIII without ever healing? Sleeping at inns? Banned. Healing with items? Banned. Using suspicious green luminescent technology that probably comes from aliens? Banned. The only way I'll be able to heal my characters in any way is at mandatory story heals and one other unavoidable source of healing that we'll talk about later. And since it can make certain battles much easier, I'm also not allowed to use healing items on enemies. Every battle matters, every status effect is devastating, and every point of damage permanently brings my characters closer and closer to a heartbreaking end. Our hero starts in a grueling battle with Cypher and takes a nasty slash to the face. But fortunately, since the challenge hasn't started, Dr. Katawaki provides some basic medical care to stop the bleeding. But given he's going to have some serious health issues in the future, I need the perfect name. He's not able to heal, so I'm guessing he's sort of just dead. Squall is dead. Everything in this run is gonna have to be things that can make you dead. Things that you probably should heal from, but we can't. We meet up with Quistis, who seems deadly, but she's really nice. And she gives us our first two death forces, whom I name after things that can kill you. In this case, Hypoxia and Geese. I make a quick stop to draw 100 fire spells from a bite bug, and we head up to the fire cavern to fight Ifrit. I have Quistis summon Geese, and Dead strikes with his gunblade until Quistis' health gets low. At this point, her limit break becomes available. She's able to use Laser Eye to deal massive damage. And after her second Laser Eye, this bad boy goes down, becoming our next death force, Clive. Summons will not be a reliable source of damage throughout this game, and the reason is that when a summon takes damage, it automatically heals when you walk around the map. That means I basically can never use them again without breaking the rules. They will serve an important function, but we'll talk about that later. I also take a moment to play some cards with the Runner Boy and capture his Minimog card, and I also capture the Quistis card from a Trape in the library. Cards will play a big part in this challenge, but we'll also talk about that later, because Squall changes into his Seed uniform and heads off to his final exam, and he travels to that exam by boat. And don't buy a boat. But before we move on, let me take a moment to thank the sponsor of this video, me. Tantacles' Marina, my Shopify store, is now live at tantacles.myshopify.com. We have our first batch of DBAB merch available, designed by the talented not.oppenheimer on Instagram. And if you just want to support the channel financially and don't want my stupid clothing, consider becoming one of the Tantacles. My Tantacles get early access to my YouTube videos, and my Yacht Club members even get a free custom postcard every single month. So click one of the links in the description-doo or join the channel and become a member today. And if you can't do that and just want to make sure you don't miss any of my videos, hit the subscribe button. Oh, and like the video. Thank you. Let's get back to this challenge, and don't buy a boat. While Dead didn't get healed before this section, Zell and Cypher now join the party, and they have a lot to contribute. And by that, I mean a lot of HP, our most precious resource in this challenge. We fight a snake, which fortunately attacks Cypher twice instead of my other two party members, so I'm able to use a Renzo Zukin and slash it to death. And my permanent party members don't lose a single health point. With the snake dead though, Cypher leaves my party and he yields to Selphie, who also has a full HP bar to contribute. And that's fortunate since the next set of bosses is a double. It starts with Biggs and Wedge. Dead is able to hit hard with a limit break, immediately bringing in Wedge. And these bosses only get in 2 weak attacks before Dead can use a second limit break. But that brings in the real boss, Elvoret. He immediately gets in a physical attack, and I'm able to draw Siren from him. And immediately after, Dead is able to use 2 limit breaks. But then Disaster strikes, and Elvoret attacks Dead, killing him. No! Elvoret can use a Storm Breath attack to deal wind damage to the entire party, so I need to kill him quick or I will just die. And unfortunately, Selphie is almost immediately taken out by a physical attack. That means it's all up to Zell to finish off this fiend. Zell uses his limit break, which allows for almost unlimited damage if you can input commands quickly. Of course, I kind of bungle it, so Elvoret is able to attack him again and get him to 39 HP, but a second limit break finishes the battle and my team is in dire straits. chance. But we do have the chance to name our new death force. Siren has to be cliffs. She makes boats go into the shore and hit cliffs. And before we can head back to school, there's one final battle with a giant robot. I equip Zell's strength stat with fire magic, and it's time to fight. Zell immediately gets tackled, and he survives the attack with just 8 HP. But despite being at death's door, he's able to use a limit break. And because of his low health, he has 11 seconds to use physical attacks. I hit a ton of attacks, disabling the robot, and this allows him to run. Zell, along with one other character that we're going to meet later, is going to be the key to beating this challenge. But it's not over. I have to escape this robot for 6 full screens or I will definitely die. I run off the first, barely dodge him on the second, walk down the third so that he doesn't use an earthquake, play it safe on screen number 4, and then enter a screen that requires great timing. The robot jumps in front of us, so we turn around. It jumps back, and we run off the screen and into the final dodgy stage, where our only task is to save the doggy. But then, it's over, because we jump and Hot Mama Quistis uses her big-ass gun to break the robot into a million pieces. And as our boat arrives, I realize there's something important to do in Balam. Zell's mom will only play cards if he's in the party, and she'll use his card, which we win from her within minutes. I also lose my Minimog card to the Queen of Cards just in case I need to complete her quest. And spoiler alert, I don't, but if you want to see me beat that entire quest, I did 100% the game with only Selphie, and I will link that video in the Discridly-Do. So I head back to Garden, and fortunately, Dead is automatically revived to 1 HP. This is our first forced heal, so it doesn't break our rules, but I guess technically he was healed for 1 HP, and had he been alive, I could have avoided healing. So if you think this means I failed the challenge, make sure you leave a comment that says you failed, I want my money back, or YFIWMMB for short, and I will give you a full refund on this video. By the way, I also figured out cat cam during this stream. Aurora is cute. We graduate our seat exam, and we change into our formal attire, and Dead's bloody and maimed body is complemented by this pretty lady. But a prettier and blonder lady gets jealous and demands Dead enter her secret area. Dutifully, we do so, and while I do my best to preserve Dead's life, he dies while trying to run away from a random encounter. So I hand all of his equipment over to Quistis since there's no way to revive him. And this was a good choice because we get attacked by Grinaldo and his Raldos. Fortunately, the only attack the little guys have is passively getting thrown by the big one. And conveniently, Quistis can draw Protect from them to have that damage. I drew a couple of double spells from Elverit, so I cast that on Quistis, and then she starts blasting away with double blizzards. Once the little guys are dead though, the big one is far less threatening. And fortuitously, he has the sleep spell available for draw. So I draw as many of those as I can before Quistis uses her laser eye blue magic to burn a huge hole in the boss. And with just 45 HP remaining, she blasts it to death with a second one. This brings us out of the training center and back to Dead's bedroom. And here he insists that it's time to sleep. So we get our very first forced heal for the entire party. But things are about to get a lot harder. Now that the gang has graduated, the headmaster gives us our first mission. He tells us nothing about it except that we have to go to Timber, sadly. But upon probing him for more information, he does give us a magic lamp. And this is without a doubt the most important item in this entire challenge. But I'll come back to that because the headmaster also has Cypher's card, and I want Cypher for myself, so I take it. And in preparation for our next fight, I refine Wizard Stones, which I got from the last battle, into Fyragas. These get junctioned directly onto Dead's strength stat for a huge boost. But finally, it's time to rub the headmaster's magic lamp to fight Diablos. Now, there's something funny you should know about Diablos. If you use his demi spell against him, which causes gravity-based damage, he will cast Curaga on you, which is very kind. But given my aversion to green numbers in this challenge, I decide that that's against the rules. I'm the one causing the healing, even if indirectly, so that's banned. However, that does make this battle rather difficult. He immediately uses the Gravia spell to remove 75% of my party's health. And while that is devastating, it does activate my party's ability to use limit breaks, which I'm happy to take advantage of. However, Zell is thus far unable to junction magic to strength. That means that Zell's limit break, our highest potential source of damage, is more noodly doodly than strongly wongly. And unfortunately, Dead catches a stray and his allies fall soon after, so I die. The second time though, I switch over over Dead's junctions to Zell, I manage to activate Zell's limit break, and each attack he lands does over 100 damage. But that's not enough to take him out in one round. However, Diablos chokes and uses Gravia, which can't kill anyone. So while he's on life support, Zell activates another limit break, and because his HP is so low, he gets a whole 10 seconds to input commands. And by the way, the reason he's able to do so much damage is that his limit breaks allows him to put in commands on a timer. And depending on his crisis level, that timer can go as high as 11 seconds. And on top of that, he has a chain of 2 commands that he can use over and over. This allows you to do massive damage as long as you don't bungle the button inputs. And this massive damage destroys Diablos without any characters dying, and our new death force becomes skydiving. And we will definitely talk about him later. So we board our train, Selphie revels in its grandeur, and then fentanyl kicks in and it's time for some sleep. And there are many flashback segments like this that are an iconic part of this game. And while their circumstances are different, they all operate in the same way. Your characters all donate their magic to a different member of Laguna's party, and you have to rejunction all the GFs. Oh, and one more thing. Your health is not restored during these segments, and that carries over into future sections, which will be an issue. But for now, all of the enemies are pitifully weak and slow, and there are no boss battles. So I just run from everything and head to Laguna's truck, which takes us to Galbadia City, which takes us to a piano bar, which takes us to Julia's room, and then they fuck. After waking up, we head to Timber and we immediately board another train. And on that train, we meet a girl. E-I-E-I-O. And we name this deadly woman Anti-Vax and her dog Rabies. We grab the Rabies card, we help her with her plan to give Rabies to the president with a train, and we realize the president already has Rabies. So we whack him like he's Old Yeller and he transforms into Jiro Jiro. I didn't realize this, but Zell and Selphie got a full heal after the Laguna section, or before it, I'm not sure. But somehow they're back to much higher HP than they were after they fought Diablos. So, yay, that's great. Normally you can just use an X potion on Jiro Jiro, but since I can't use healing items, I have to take him down the old-fashioned way by using Squall's limit break. Oh. He died. Well, that's bad. Okay, we'll let Selphie and Zell take care of it. Selphie casts magic, and to make things go faster, I have Zell cast double on her. Sadly though, Selphie gets inflicted with silence. That means they have to use physical attacks for the rest of the battle. But Zell's health eventually gets low, so I have him use a limit break. And after Jiro Jiro wastes a turn casting silence, Selphie finishes him off with a physical attack. You go, girlfriend. Fortunately, after this battle, Squall gets auto-revived, something that happens a reasonable amount in this challenge. I decided at this point in the challenge that in addition to not healing HP, I'm not going to allow myself to heal any status effects. So because Selphie is still silenced, she's only going to be using physical attacks. So I load her up with strength and I give Anti-Vax more magical power. The rest of Timber, though, is uneventful. Well, as uneventful as the kidnapping of a president can be. But even that is too much excitement, so we listen to Selphie's train song and we take a quick nap in the forest near Galbadia Garden. This leads to another flashback. And this flashback is the perfect opportunity to get some new magic. 2 of 3 party members will end this flashback with 1 HP, so I take some time to draw up from one of Estar's soldiers. I dash through the lunatic Pandora, activating all the traps I can, we get soul crushed, and then Laguna throws Warden Kyros off a cliff. And that wakes up our team. As it turns out, Selphie and Quistis were the ones who were affected by the soul crush, which means that they each have 1 HP. And Zell miraculously now has full HP, so he and Anti-Vax are coming into our party. We get our mission from the headmaster to kill the sorceress, and we head to Deling City on another train. Unfortunately, the guard at the mansion we need to hang out at doesn't trust us, so he gives us a sub-mission to find a sword hilt. We find it, but I decide to take things a step further and fight the death force stuck in these ruins, starting with Sacred. A limit break from Dead kills it pretty quickly though. But then we have to fight the 2 brothers together, and because Zell and Dead both have low HP, they're able to defeat Minotaur relatively quickly with limit breaks. I cast Float on Sacred to disable his healing, but he's ultimately taken out by a single limit break from Zell, and both brothers Rock and Slide join my team. So we watch this old guy dash around the square, Quistis immediately ruins the mission by getting locked into the conference room, and Anti-Vax tries to use homeopathy to kill the sorceress. But that doesn't work, and 2 lizards attack her, so Dead and Irvine step in to help. But before that, I make a big move. Hi! me? Look at this cat, guys. Look at this cat. Yeah, she's a cat. I refined the Zell card into 3 Hyperists. These teach the Strength plus 60% ability. I teach this to Clive, and this sends Irvine's strength through the roof. And I save the other 2. So I enter the battle with the lizards, and we go fast. Dead draws Carbuncle from one of the lizards, and Irvine immediately uses a limit break. And his shot limit break is arguably the best in the game. He can attack all enemies with any ammunition we have, and once an enemy's HP hits 0, he stops doing damage and can switch to the next one. He's able to take out both lizards with 1 limit break, ending the battle. And we name our new Death Force Aurora Purialis, my cat who destroys me with her claws on the regular. That's this cat, by the way. Her. But while I, Tantacles, can heal, my characters in the sewer cannot. But the game shows some mercy, and Selphie is automatically revived. And my only job in this section is to run to the end of the sewers without dying, which I do. So we rise with a carousel, Quistis pushes the button to trap the sorceress, and our assassination attempt fails. That means we're gonna have to take her out with our bare hands. But something amazing happens. Oh, it gave you a full heal! It healed me! Woo! So I use this time to draw some life spells off of Cypher before I finish him off, which brings us into the fight with Adele. And fortunately, Irvine too was given a full heal. This gives me an opening to draw some dispels from her. And fortunately, even without draining her health to 0, the battle ends automatically, bringing us into Disc 2. Disc 2 starts with a Laguna flashback, and there's bad news. We did not get a full heal. We didn't get a full heal! I'm in so much trouble! So I avoid every battle I can and head back to the present for a forced nap. We wake up in the jail, and fortunately, everyone is healed, except Dead. So since Zell has to save the team, I make sure he has a high strength stat, and I have him go recover our shit. 2 attacks are enough to take out both guards, and then the team fights Big and Wedge for the 2nd time. And something great happens here. After defeating Wedge with a limit break, Selphie is able to blind Biggs. Since Biggs only uses physical attacks, this means he can't do anything to my team. So I'm able to draw up a full stock of haste, slow, and regen for junctioning later. Then Zell finishes him off. So after running up and down the place a few times, we head into another boss fight with 2 robots and another soldier. But fortunately, Zell is at low HP, so I'm able to take out 1 robot right away with a limit break, and a second one is defeated soon after. Dead activates a limit break next, and this finishes the battle by taking out the soldier. At this point, the party splits up. Dead, Irvine, and Antivax head back to Balam Garden, and the other 3 head to the missile base to prevent a missile strike. I elect to sabotage the missile base stealthily to avoid battles, and the boss fight with the 3 soldiers, normally a nothing burger, is a disaster. The main soldier can cast Confuse, and he immediately cast it on Zell, preventing him from activating his limit break. And because I can't heal off this status, Zell takes himself out, and I die. And the same thing happens on the 2nd try. On the 3rd try, though, Zell gets his limit break before the soldier can confuse him, and he takes down Big Red. The other 2 are no problem at all. But it's not over, because now we have to fight the BFT, the big tank. I start by having Quistis use her acid blue magic to cause the meltdown status, which does not work. However, Zell gets off a limit break right after, and he has a full 9 seconds to select commands. And this 1 limit break is enough to take down the tank completely. 3 burnt soldiers then emerge, but I've set up for this already. Selphie's limit break is a double Thundara, and this defeats the red soldier and 1 of the blue ones. And 1 more attack from Quistis is enough to end the battle. And something amazing happens here. Skydiving finally learns the Encounter None ability, which makes all random encounters go away. We will only be fighting bosses from now on. Sadly, the missile base explodes with our team inside it, but maybe we can still save Balam Garden. There are a couple of forced battles here, but they aren't a big deal. And once we find the headmaster, the team heads into the basement and fights some oil boils. And this battle is pretty dangerous. I use Dead's limit break first, but his strength is pretty low, so it doesn't do enough damage to kill. So he gets taken out immediately. Irvine uses his limit break next, but he doesn't have enough time to kill either monster. And in return, the oil boils put my 2 remaining characters on life support. But this allows me to use Antivax's limit break. Rabies cannon! run! And this shot is enough to take out one of the oil boils. She gets hit next, but the hit does not kill her, and Irvine is able to use his limit break to kill the other monster, ending the battle. I'm so happy that Rabies took out one of them. That was more useful than I thought she'd be. And then we're able to transform Balam Garden into a boat, escaping the missiles entirely. And we didn't purchase this boat, so I'm okay with it. And amazingly, after the launch of the boat, everyone gets a full heal. But sadly, our boat now has a castaway, the Pope, also known as Norg. And if you want to know why we call him the Pope, you're gonna have to watch my game show that I hosted with 5 other YouTubers. I will link that in the Discridly-Do and at the end of this video. But for now,
let's kill him.
Our main damage dealer in this battle will be Irvine, since he has the highest strength stat. I let him attack the shell, and Antivax and Dead drain magic from the Pope's 2 balls. They eventually start to change colors, but as long as my 2 side pieces attack them whenever that happens, they won't really do anything. Eventually, the shell opens up and the Pope's juicy ballsack chin is revealed. So I draw the Leviathan Death Force out of that ballsack and just keep attacking with Irvine. And within a couple of minutes, the Pope is no more. That means we can name our new Death Force Scurvy. With our new boat just floating around, we now have access to the Card Club side quest. I fight Jack, but then I leave this side quest alone for a minute because our boat gets splashed by some white seed. Delicious! As it turns out, they're only here to collect a girl, but I'm not ready to hand her over quite yet. Instead, I challenge Club to a card game, then the Diamond Twins, and then Spade. None of them have any unique cards, but Joker does. He yields the card of Scurvy. That's stupid. But then we let Alone jump ship, which is good because our boat crashes into FH. The mayor's wife donates some geese to our cause, and we fight a few weak soldiers. And once they're dead, a giant tank emerges from the water. Fortunately, with the help of a few of Dead's limit breaks, I'm able to kill it with little collateral damage, and my health stores are looking pretty good. And joy of joys, Quistis, Zell, and Selphie now rejoin the team, only to hold the most disgusting concert I have ever heard. But fortunately, we then get the ability to drive the garden boat. But even more importantly, this gives me access to the second to last member of the card club, Zhu, who is Diamond, and she yields the card of Aurora Borealis. And there's just one more card member to beat. But before we do that, I give a speech and have a terrifying realization. Is nobody else junctioned? Did it undo all of my freaking junctions? Are you flippin' kidding me? I'm so angry. The reason I was so angry here is that when the junctions were removed, my HP enhancing magic was also removed. That means I've just effectively taken thousands of HP and damage just by advancing the story. However, there is one exception. I equipped Zell with some HP enhancing stuff while he was at the missile base, and for some reason that stayed on and his HP remains high. And the only other person who remained junction is Squall, who was not healed for even a single point of HP and is thus still on life support. And funny enough, this is the last full heal we get for the entire game. From this point on, every single point of HP that I lose is gone forever. While I'm disappointed that my HP has been nerfed, I do now have access to a full party, so I give Zell as much strength as possible with his new Quake spell, and I head to Balam. There, it's time to fight Ragin, who comes outfitted with 2 weaklings. So I let Antivax use her Rabies cannon to take out the 2 weak soldiers, and Zell finishes off Ragin with a physical attack. But then, we head inside the hotel to fight Ragin along with Fujin. I draw Pandemona off of Fujin first to disable her powerful magic, and then I try to take out Ragin as quickly as possible with limit breaks and physical attacks. Unfortunately though, he's able to heal with a high potion and make dead with a physical attack. But then Zell is able to use a limit break on Fujin to take her out in 1 round. And a second limit break takes out Ragin. And then Pandemona becomes carbon monoxide. We visit Trabia Garden, chill near this pretty lighthouse, and then form another party. And to my surprise, the game revived Dead again just in time for our altercation with Galbadia Garden. Antivax shows off her massive guns by hanging off the garden for an hour and a half. Irvine takes out a group of soldiers with 1 shotgun shell, and then we do this stupid minigame with the punching, which I hate, but I win on the second try, so I've got that going for me. So we rescue Antivax, and she gives us back the ring she stole, which means we have to name the lion on it, and one of my viewers requested it be named Tantabeast, which is cool, I guess. But what's not cool is this big doggo in the middle of Galbadia lady a garden who tries to kill me. All I need is one limit break and we will get Cerberus. And I get one limit break with Irvine right away. Cerberus then wastes its turn casting Berserk on Zell, and this allows Dead to activate his limit break, finishing the battle. And we name the dog Poison Ivy. And with that, we head into a battle with Cypher, who is destroyed with one shot of Irvine's gun. And with that, we head into another battle with Cypher. But once he's dead, we fight our real foe, Adele. And unfortunately, she immediately casts Maelstrom, making it much harder to get limit breaks. But Dead queued one up before she cast that spell, so he's able to whack her, and then Zell is able to draw out the Alexandria. Irvine gets one pot shot in, but then Adele makes a fatal mistake. She casts Reflect on herself instead of attacking, and we only need 2 more physical attacks to defeat her. And Cypher drops a hero, which we will definitely need for later. But before the disc ends, we name Alexander Syphilis. And while Antivax does get possessed, it is great to be done with this battle. So now that we've defeated Adele, it's time for a flashback. We slay a dragon, we slay a bigger dragon, and then we're back in the present looking over a beautiful sunset with a dead anti-vaxxer. And it looks like Mother has forgiven us for our indiscretions. Adele joins the team just in time to fight the next boss, Abaddon. And this is another fight that would be very easy if we could just heal. Abaddon is undead, and we could just use an elixir on him, but instead he whacks Dead and Zell to death, and then Adele gets confused and smashes herself, and I die. But the second time he attacks Adele first, so she and Zell are able to let off massive limit breaks to defeat him. Of course, Dead is still, well, dead, and we return to the past. And this is very bad, because Dead's HP carries over to Laguna, and Laguna gets auto-revived because he's the only character in the party, and that means he has just 1 HP. And almost immediately, he's launched into a solo battle with an S-Star soldier. The soldier gets the first attack, and I die. And in the great tradition of Tantacles challenges... Did I not save? I didn't save after Abaddon, did I?
I'm going home.
Well, I fight Abaddon again, and Zell once again punches him to death. But this time, I save. Yay. And this time, Laguna gets the first hit in on the S-Star soldier, defeating him. Yay. And this means he is rejoined by his friends. The next battle is a piece of cake. We head back to the present, and S-Star is cool. But I have more important things to do than advance the plot. I'm not sure what was going on there. Please don't ask me. Anyway, Dead and Antivax get shot up into space. Then Zell and Adele get yeeted by a giant robot. We get some cards. Antivax yeets Squall across the room, and we pop a giant space pimple. This is what happens when you don't get your vaccines, kids. Just letting you know. But then it's time for some pain. Because on the Ragnarok, we have to fight the Propagators. 8 of them to be exact. Or it would be 8 had I not messed up the order. Just deal with it, people. I'm sorry. But anyway, with Dead having 1 HP and Antivax being on life support, we need to get really lucky. If Antivax dies, it's over, which is exactly what happens the first time I fight one, and the second, and then the path forward becomes clear. I have to get a limit break on Squall, basically. Of course, that doesn't work out the first time I try it, but on the next try, the orange propagator casts blind on Dead instead of attacking, and that allows him to use a limit break to strike. But then I change up my strategy again. I junction Death to Antivax's status attack, and this strategy works pretty well. And again, and a third time, and a fourth time, 5, 6, and then I save because I'm not doing that again. And I'm glad I did because the green one immediately takes out Antivax. But on the retry, 7, 8, 9, no! Apparently, the propagators have a small amount of resistance against death, and it just didn't hit this time. So I kill number 8 again, and then I save because I'm smart.
Really, bitch.
And also, number 9 kills me right away, so I'm glad I did. But I don't feel bad because this is just an average, ordinary anti-vaxxer. But then I finally kill number 9. Anyway, we rescue our precious anti-vaxxer from the evil doctors, we relieve Adele of her own card, and then we finally enter the most important battle of this challenge. Before we enter the most important battle of this challenge, there is some prep that I have to do. So I refine a Diaz card, which gives 3 royal crowns. These give the magic plus 60% ability, which I give to 3 death forces. And then we're ready to fight Odin. And the reason that I needed that extra magic stat is that Odin has the best spell available to draw, triple. And even better, Odin does not attack, meaning I'm free to draw that as well as the other spells he has available with no risk to my character's lives. And once I do that, I have Irvine gun him down. And now that I have triple, my team is about to get broken because triple allows me to raise Irvine's strength to astronomical levels. But before we move on, I grab a Gala card from a random-ass card player and modify this into a mystery fluid, and from that I make 10 meltdown spells. I will need those later. For example, in my last battle with Fujin and Reijin. This battle is very similar to the last one, and we have 2 characters in good health. Fujin does not kill Dead, so I have Selphie use one of my meltdowns on Reijin, and then Dead wrecks him with a limit break. And I didn't even melt down Fujin, I just had Irvine take pot shots at her, and I ended this battle with no one dying. But things are about to get harder, because we now have to fight Mobile Type 8. I need to kill it before it takes down even one character, and the first time I fight it, it gets a hit on Dead right away, taking him down. So I just let everyone else die. On try number 2, my luck is a bit better. Mobile Type 8 attacks Selphie first. She's able to use Meltdown right away, reducing Mobile Type 8's vitality to 0. But there's a big problem. Mobile Type 8 has a counterattack that deals over 700 damage, taking her out. Dead gets his limit break in next, but he doesn't damage this baddie enough to defeat it, meaning he dies as well. And I simply can't tolerate 2 characters going down, so I let Irvine die and I start over. On try number 3, Selphie once again gets attacked first, but she's once again able to melt it down before she dies. And this time, Irvine activates his limit break with normal ammo. Unfortunately though, even this isn't enough to take down Mobile Type 8, and he is dispatched. And while Dead tries to finish the job, he soon is taken down and I die. So I changed 2 things. First, I completely maximize Irvine's strength with bonuses, and that isn't enough since he still can't take out the robot in 1 limit break. But on the next try, I change up my ammo using flame ammo instead of normal ammo, and this does enormous damage, but Irvine isn't able to do quite enough damage to kill. So I switch up his ammo one more time and use demolition ammo instead. These do maximum damage, but take more time to shoot, and I need 4 shots to win, and I only get 3, so I die. And I try fire ammo one more time, and that doesn't work, so I make one more change. I have Dead use Aura on Irvine, and while this does increase their chance of getting a limit break, it also just generally increases their crisis level. This allows limit breaks to become more powerful. This means that Irvine now gets more time to shoot bullets, and he's able to take out Mobile Type 8 in just 1 limit break. So even though we now have a Dead Selphie, we at least can move on to the next boss, Cypher. But something remarkable happens here. That was a full heal, guys! That changes everything. For some reason, Dead and only Dead gets a full heal before this battle with Cypher. That means we have a lot more flexibility in the battles to come. But unfortunately, Cypher manages to defeat Irvine before he can use his limit break. Go. No! He's our main damage dealer, guys. I gotta start over. But that's not a terrible thing because I now have one priority. I give Dead the maximum amount of HP prior to this battle so that it's automatically healed. And without too much fanfare, I'm able to get him to 7,800. And rather than risking Irvine's life in this battle, I just switch him out. I have Quistis meltdown Cypher, and then I have Dead finish him off with a Renzo Zukin. And Cypher drops my second hero item. And this item is going to be absolutely key. But to understand why, we're gonna have to backtrack a bit. You might remember that I defeated the Card Club earlier in this challenge. Those of you who have played this game before might know that this gives access to the final member of the Card Club, who happens to be, spoiler alert, Quistis. And if you beat Quistis, you can win the Gilgamesh card. And if you refine the Gilgamesh card, you get 10 Holy Wars, an item that completely breaks this game. They grant the party complete invincibility. But there is a big problem. In order to get this card, you have to rest in Squall's bed, which provides a full party heal. So the only time I could ever defeat Quistis is after a story heal. But as I mentioned before, once Garden starts floating, those do not exist, meaning this card is completely blocked off. Nonetheless, before completing this challenge, I asked myself, what if you were allowed to heal just one time? How does that change the challenge? And the answer is that it completely trivializes it. Adele can't touch my party, so I take her out. The Sorceress Gauntlet is completely trivialized. We can only physically attack Sphinx Aura, but that's the easiest boss ever, so no big deal, and that unlocks limit breaks. And one limit break, in fact, one shot from Irvine's limit break defeats Tri-Point, and that unlocks item. And once that's done, you can just run directly to the final boss. You can use a Holy War to become invincible, and then you can wail on every single phase of the boss without consequence. This is beating the game in the most brain-dead way possible. So we go on to Adele without doing any of that. And it is an unmitigated disaster, because the very first time I fight her, she hits my team with a meteor before I can do anything. And that takes down 2 of my party members immediately. So of course, I have to let the rest of the team die. The second time though, Quistis uses a meltdown and Irvine takes no prisoners, removing Adele from existence with some normal ammo. But believe it or not, Adele is not the issue here, because the process of time compression starts, and we are thrust into battle with, I think, every sorceress who has ever existed. And this battle does not go well. Well, okay, it starts well because I cast haste on Irvine and he just whacks stuff. But my other 2 characters can't take out any sorceresses without help. And once the big ones start coming, my dream of a reasonable victory goes bye-bye when a meltdown takes down my handsome gunman. And I mean, I do try. I don't just give up. But eventually, the giant sorceress who reminds me of the Slurm monster from Futurama comes in and makes dead even more dead. And I am shocked that I waited until this late in the video to make that joke. And did I save after I beat Adele? I definitely didn't. Yeah, everything's fine. But on try number 3, I get her. And this time, I save. Irvine still dies pretty early, but this time, Dead has some more HP, so he's able to make some stuff happen. And Quistis contributes too with her powerful blue magic. But eventually, Slurmy Wormy comes in, and Dead is able to dead her with a couple of limit breaks, bringing me to Altimus Castle. Unfortunately, after my last set of battles, my team is once again on life support, but Dead and Zell are still alive, so I give Zell the equipment Irvine had and head in to fight Sphinx Aura. And this battle is a big old nothing burger, so fortunately we're able to take her down within about a minute, unlocking the limit break command. But when I exit the castle to save, something happens.
She's revived.
Apparently, exiting Ultimisia's palace causes a forced revival, with only 1 HP, but a forced revival nonetheless. And if I want to save, I have to exit, and I'm going to save. So for the sake of my sanity, I call this a forced heal. And I'm gonna let all of you argue about this in the comment section, because there's one more thing that I need to tell you. When I 100%ed this game with only Selphie, and I'll link that video in the Discridly-do once it's done, the final save point in Ultimisia's castle revived all characters no matter what. So to me, para me, this makes it very clear that the game wants your characters alive to the point that they heal all of your characters if you want to save. However, my compromise here is that I allow my characters to be revived only once. If they die again, I must reset. But as you'll see, that little stipulation does not matter. I make a party of Zell, Selphie, and Irvine because Dead has the most HP and I don't want to risk his death. And I fight Tri-Point, who dies to 1 limit break from Zell, and then I unlock magic. Trauma is next, and I have Selphie melt him down and Irvine shoot him. This unlocks save. Red Giant is next, and melting him down stops him from doing everything. And then Zell limit breaks him to death, so I unlock GF. And with these abilities, I'm ready to take on Ultimisia, or at least that's what I thought. I use my final Hyperist to give Hypoxia strength plus 60%, and we head on in. Zell takes out the first phase with a limit break, and then Ultimisia summons Tantabeast. again, that was a donation from a viewer. The real Tantabeast has noodle arms. Yeah, I had queued up a limit break from Irvine, and he takes out this form with some fire ammo. But once I do this, Tantabeast unleashes Shockwave Pulsar, an attack that does a huge amount of damage and wipes out the entire party. The sequence of events is similar on my second try, except I have Dead Summon Rock Slide to take Tantabeast's attack. Irvine then hits with his limit break, and my Gambit is successful. Rock Slide dies, but we move on to the next phase. And like a champ, Dead is able to limit break through this phase. But then he dies to a holy attack, leaving just Selphie, who manages to use a triple meteor to defeat this phase. And to add insult to injury, Antivax, who is still silenced from a million battles ago, is brought into battle to replace Irvine. Selphie gets taken out, and then Antivax is killed, and then the battle is lost. And I try one more time, and it goes even worse. And I realize that this strategy is just not going to work, but it's been about 6 hours, so I go to bed and I think. And eventually, I come up with a solution. You might remember that I mentioned earlier the 2 hero items I got in battles with Cypher. These do the same thing as Holy Wars. They provide invincibility, but to only one person at a time. And I have 2 of them, so if I get the right party, I can just make 2 characters invincible and they can wail on the boss. Which is a great plan, except
Item isn't unlocked.
But there's one more boss I can fight and easily win against, Tiamat, because all he does for his first 5 turns is just charge up a huge attack. So Irvine is able to take him out with 1 limit break. So with our item command unlocked, I make sure all of my characters have the item command equipped, and then I head on in. My first attempt is a disaster because we start with the wrong party, but I do manage to get Antivax dead before I kill off Ultimisia's first form. But unfortunately, my second character to come in is Quistis, but oddly, everyone survives and Zell gets brought in next. But there's a big problem here, and that is that the target for items is not shown very clearly on the screen, so... Ah, no! And I die. And the next try goes just as badly, as does try number 3. But on try number 4, I get a quick kill on Ultimisia Phase 1 with Zell, and then I get heroes up on both Irvine and Zell. Phase 2 gets killed by a limit break from Zell and Irvine, and a Shockwave Pulsar defeats Selphie only. And that leaves Zell free to slap the shit out of Tantabeast, bringing us into the next phase. Irvine shoots Tantabeast's face off next, and the final form is in the building. Irvine and Zell are still invincible. They take 0 damage from the initial Hell's Judgment, and Zell starts to duel. And that isn't quite enough, but Irvine has a limit break queued up, so he's able to deal a crap ton of damage and deplete her HP, bringing her to her talking phase. All I have to do for this phase is get in 5 attacks, and she's dead. Irvine's invincibility now wears off though, but Ultimisia uses Hell's Judgment, and since he's already at 1 HP, that does nothing. Zell attacks, Irvine attacks, and then Selphie gets absorbed into time, yielding my final character, Quistis. Zell attacks again, Irvine attacks again, and then Ultimisia draws Apocalypse from herself. But we need only 1 more hit, and Quistis is queued up and ready to go. So she hits Ultimisia 1 final time.
We freaking did it! That's it.
But that's not it, because we have 1 more challenge to complete, Omega Weapon. I can use the same strategy on this boss. I use heroes on Zell and Irvine, but then they let loose with limit breaks. And I use up all of Irvine's demolition ammo, but he has dark ammo, which also does a ton of damage. But the character who gets the finishing blow is Zell, who has an absolutely incredible limit break, punching this big doggo in the face to finish this challenge. Watch another video and subscribe and become a channel member if you love my content. Bye.